Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is bearing witness and what can be different in our experience of our lives when we take a moment to stand back and bear witness, to be observers as well as experiencers of our lives. So it should be a rich conversation. But good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. Great to start this week with you and with everybody else who's joining us. Before we get started talking about our topic today of bearing witness, let's take a couple moments to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the motion, the pressure, and the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to be here with you this morning. So we're talking about bearing witness. I just spilled tea all over myself. And the desk. Okay, so at least it wasn't coffee, right? And it wasn't too terribly hot. Anyway, we're talking about bearing witness. So I'm always looking for synchronicities. So as I spill this tea all over myself, and am witnessing my life and the drama and events, years ago, a friend said, this friend had been trained as a monk and had spent lots of time in silence and whatever, and they used to say everything is symbolic and nothing is symbolic. So I'm wondering what, if it's symbolic, what it is to spill tea all over yourself. Maybe it's a wake up, I don't know. Anyway, bearing witness means stepping back from the drama and the throes of life, to be able to at the same time be an observer, to recognize these interplays, to also step back and be able to be grateful, to be able to bear witness, to be able to step into a space of awareness and appreciation. I think it allows us, when we stand back, to be able to see a broader focus, a broader picture. We can get so caught in the drama of the moment, the demands of the moment, the energies of the moment, that we end up losing ourselves. We end up being on automatic so often. And when we can stand back and bear witness, I don't know that it's so much a commentary, but we have then the opportunity with that broader vantage point to maybe see interweavings, to have a greater appreciation for the patterns that are emerging. Because when we're immersed in the moment, we don't necessarily have the perspective to witness all the patterns. And even when we step back, we may not have the capacity to do that, but it just, when I have the grace to remember to step back, or the opportunity to step back. I mean, one of the easiest times of day to be able to do this is in the morning, just before you actually really wake up. You can go and sort of do a review, or at night before you go to sleep, you can kind of stand back and do a review of the day. And the temptation might be to be judging the day or occurrences. But what if you could just observe them and notice? So Rosalind says, is this processing and looking back after something has happened, or bearing witness as it's happening? Ideally, it would be amazing to be able to bear witness as it's happening, right? Because then we're present in multiple dimensions all at once, right? We're in it and we're not of it. Like, we're in it and we're also witnessing it. And so, you know, that might be the ideal state. So, but most of us are more adept or more capable of being able to stand back afterwards and in a bit of a reverie, you know, to observe and to maybe review. I think it's a bit of a reverie, you know, to appreciate what it is when we've been able to gain some perspective. And ultimately the grace would be to be able to do that in the moment, you know, so that we can be engaged in the moment and witnessing the moment also. So like this multifaceted consciousness that we are capable of. Anyway, over the weekend, my goddaughter is getting married, and we had a bridal shower for her over the weekend. And there was such sweetness, such love and sweetness and engagement with all these different people coming around to celebrate her celebration and to celebrate her. And it was playful, it was beautiful, there was so much love. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, being in it. And also there was another level of appreciation that I was able to experience, as in the evening I was able to stand back and kind of review and just appreciate, savor on a whole other level. You know, there were moments in the midst of it that I was able to be present to being moved by the whole thing. But somehow the reverie, the going back and watching it, and seeing it again was an enriching experience. It enabled the whole thing to land more deeply, even in my heart, to see all these people coming together to create this event that was just truly lovely, truly, truly lovely. And to have that kind of camaraderie, with people that wouldn't necessarily come together without that specific kind of occasion. And it was just a delight, and it made me, in thinking about it, it makes me appreciate the benefit of being able to bear witness, to kind of take this stance outside of the immediacy and the urgency of our lives, to step back and really appreciate the dimensions of richness that are available to us, and interactions that we have that move us, to stand back from what it is that's moving us, and stand back enough to be able to see what is that dynamic, the generosity of others. So there was one person there that I've known peripherally for quite some time, who said that every now and then she sees these conversations. And I loved what she said. She said, it must be very healing for you to be able to do that. And I've said things to that effect to you all. But to have somebody else recognize how deeply this exchange, and this is another thing I'm bearing witness to, but how deeply this exchange with you enriches me, to bear witness to that, and to the opportunity to be sharing this time and what it generates. I wish that I knew more clearly what it generates for you, although you share some of that with me, for which I'm tremendously grateful. And I also want again to reiterate how truly beneficial and powerful it is to have the opportunity to share this time with you. And standing back, I see the ongoing commitment. It's hard to believe this, but we started this at the beginning of COVID. So it's been years now, which is hard to believe. And one of the things that we were talking about, in the perspective of that amount of time that's gone by, is it's remarkable to me that I still have stuff to talk about, like, and we were laughing at how the more we say, the more there is to say. And it's so fascinating to me to be growing together with you, and to be discovering how much there is to say, and it all comes down in so many ways to the same thing, right? Which is presence. And so what is presence? When we talk about bearing witness, there's a dimension of presence that is kind of the observer part, that is there in the present. And there's also presence in being fully immersed in the moment. And it's interesting to me to notice that that those two dimensions of experience and awareness can coexist, that we truly are multidimensional beings, and we can perceive and be present to multiple dimensions of experience all at the same time. And we pick up different bits of information, oftentimes without even being conscious of them, of those bits of information. Rosalind says, I enjoy being able to see how you meet people where they are, and ability to interpret questions, even though fat finger typing gets in the way. Oh, Rosalind, thank you. I have to again say thank you to you, because you bear witness to these conversations. Not only do you engage in them, but you bear witness to them, which is pretty awesome. You know, like having one person in the world be present to you, or to bear witness to you, or to hold space for you, is exceedingly powerful, even if it's one person and one person alone. So years ago, I remember, I don't know if it was a conversation or just feeling alone in the world, but with one person. It only takes one person to witness you, to be present to you, to hold space for you, and maybe even to know you, that becomes a tether in the best of ways, an anchor in the best of ways to being, so that you don't float off into the ethers, you know, like a helium balloon, but have an anchor in the world somehow. And so when we bear witness to others, it's a gift to them. You know, when we bear witness to ourselves, it's a gift to us, because it creates a greater context. We talk about contexts all the time, and how life is context. You know, our experience of life is context, maybe is more accurate. And we've been talking a lot about recognizing ourselves, our beings, as process rather than as product. We could easily say that we are multidimensional beings, defined in many ways by the degree of context. So when we talk about stepping back and witnessing, we're talking about a new context. We're talking about a different vantage point, a different perspective, and how that provides us with a more enriching perspective and experience. So what does it mean to bear witness? And when we are doing this reverie, what can we bear witness? Is it bearing witness if we're judging? I don't know that it is. That's projection, right? So the bearing witness is kind of a compassionate observer. Can we talk about it that way? And with that compassion, there's an acceptance, and I'm accepting observer, to allow for things to be as they are without judgment. That's what we're talking about with bearing witness, is standing back without judgment to then recognize the connections and the interconnections, the interwovenness of things. And when we're able to step back into that space, we can experience greater love and greater beauty, greater connection. You know, in its way, it's interesting. We stand back to become a neutral observer. And as we do that, we can see the interplay of all these different things. And perhaps we can be more deeply connected with awe and wonder at the miraculousness of it all. It's interesting because with this shower, there was a lot of doing. You know, I was part of preparing everything, and what was beautiful is that in the doing, there was, for me anyway, there was an ongoing sense of connection. And it wasn't just about the task, but it was more about the context. It was more about the why of what brought us there. And so this is part of witnessing, is to be witnessing our own process. So we're in the process and we're observing the process. And it's a cycle. I'm thinking of it kind of, I have the image of yin and yang, of doing and being. And sometimes it's spinning in the direction where the doing is driving. But when it's spinning in the direction of the being driving, then the being moves into the doing, moves into the being, moves into the doing. And the doing becomes a function of the being. And we do have the capacity in that being driven doing to, I think, more readily step back into this witness space of multidimensional experience of being the doing and being the being that's driving the doing, and also being the observer. So Rosalind says, witnessing the outcome unfold when there were many possibilities to be with. So seeing it play out with more depth, build upon how you imagined it to be. Yeah, you know, yeah, it's interesting because as I'm thinking about, you know, this witnessing thing, and in a way it's, you know, taking yourself out of the moment, but at the same time, it's allowing that moment to deepen. It's kind of a paradox here, right? But build upon how you imagined it to be. I'm trying to think, I guess there was an imagining, and again, this gets to be the difference between goal and intention. Again, yin and yang, goal and intention. When you're goal focused, you're all about the outcome and the bounds of the outcome. When you're intention focused, it's more of the field, and it's like the details fill themselves in. They can be more forgiving, if that makes any sense. And there is a wonder, as you're saying, Rosalind, to witness the outcome unfolding. As you know, there were all these possibilities, and then the outcome is emerging. To be witnessing it is bringing, I guess the best way to say it is to be bringing another dimension of presence, that makes the experience more multidimensional too, right? There's the richness of combined perspectives, combined experience, all within the same experience. We do have the capacity to be inhabiting multiple dimensions at the same time, I believe. So it's an interesting thing to play with, you know, because we can see ourselves doing stuff, like maybe even in an argument, you know, you can be in the argument and then there's a part of you standing back and watching with dismay, for instance, you know, and when that's happening, maybe there's the opportunity to change course that wouldn't have been there had we not been able to be witness, for example. So it's not just in the treasured moments, but in the moments that are challenging too. And when we can have compassion for ourselves as the witness, rather than judgment, then it leaves us more fluidity and the ability to change and course correct, so to speak. Anyway, that's it for this morning. Wonderful way to start a week with you. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living Facebook pages. And until next time.